Hi friends, Michelle Sweeney here with Epicurean Delights, and today I'm going to show you how to create my delicious oat bran bread. It's super high in fiber, it's an artisan bread, and it's deliciously moist with just a touch of honey. So some of the things that we're going to need are water, all-purpose flour, oat bran, active dry yeast, oil, honey, brown sugar, salt, oatmeal, and 1 egg white lightly beaten. The first thing that I want to do is make sure that my water is at the proper temperature to bloom my active dry yeast. I want my water to be at about 110 degrees. Straight out of my tap, it's at about 108, 109 degrees. So I'm just using a precision heat bowl to get my water up to the right temperature before I add my active dry yeast. In the meantime, I'm going to take my all-purpose flour and combine that with my oat bran. This is oat bran, not oat bran flour, so there is a difference. This is where all of our delicious protein is going to come from, and our high fiber is from our oat bran. So I'm just going to incorporate those two ingredients, get them all nice and worked into each other while I'm waiting for my water to heat up to the proper temperature. You don't have to use a precision heat bowl. You can do this just simply heat your water up in the microwave, but do make sure that you have it at the right temperature, because if it is too hot, you will kill your yeast, and we don't want that. We want our yeast to live and thrive. So now I'm just going to go ahead and attach my dough hook and give it a couple good whisks with that dough hook so I can get some of that yeast incorporated. Alternatively, you could just use a regular whisk and whisk in your active dry yeast. Again, make sure it is active dry yeast. Double check your packaging because there is a difference. I'm going to go ahead and let that sit. And once it has sat for a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and start incorporating my other ingredients. So first up, I've got my olive oil. You can certainly use any type of oil. I prefer olive oil for this particular recipe, so that's what I'm going with today. The next item I'm going to include into my yumminess is honey. So I am using a 1/4 cup of honey. If you prefer to use all honey for your sweetener, you can do that. So you would simply swap out the brown sugar for honey. So instead of a 1/4 cup of honey, if you wanted to do all honey, you would do a 1/2 cup of honey and omit the brown sugar. Today for this recipe, I'm using a 1/4 cup of honey and a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. This brown sugar is dark brown sugar. You want to make sure that your measuring cup is firmly packed. We don't want it to be loose. We want to pack in that brown sugar goodness, and just add that to the bowl. Next, I'll go ahead and add in my old-fashioned oatmeal. And then I'm going to slowly start to incorporate the rest of my ingredients. So I'm putting in my salt. I like to do that last, right before I put in my flour. So again, I'm just adding in my all-purpose flour that's been mixed with my oat bran. So I'm going to start doing that. I'll get down to about a cup, cup and a half left in the bowl. I like to start to mix it and just kind of see, where the dough takes me. I am reducing my precision heat bowl down to 90 degrees. I will be using this bowl to also proof my dough. You can certainly do it the alternative way, which is to take the dough, place it in a warm place, put a towel over the top of it. Alternatively, you could remove it, put it into a glass bowl and, kind of oil it to make sure it doesn't stick to the glass bowl. But today I'm doing everything in one bowl, which is one of the reasons why I really like this bowl. Starting to look pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and start to slowly incorporate the last bits of my flour and oat bran. Today's one of those days where it looks like it's going to take all of the flour and oat bran. And I can just tell by looking at the dough hook whether or not I need to go ahead and, add some more. I don't want this to be so dry that it's craggly, but I also don't want it so sticky that it just sticks to everything. So you just want to find that happy, that happy balance. Now that my dough hook has done its job, I'm going to go ahead and give this dough a rest by just placing a towel over it. My bowl is set to 90 degrees and I'm just going to let this proof. Now that it's all nice and proofed up, I'm going to go ahead and take my dough hook and give that dough a couple good punches and punch it on down. Once I'm satisfied with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it out onto my surface. I will be using a little bit of all-purpose flour to flour my surface. I just don't want it to stick to my countertop. I also don't want to add so much all-purpose flour in that it gets really dry. I also don't want to manhandle my dough. I want it to be really tender. The more you work your dough, the more you're going to activate the gluten and the tougher it's going to be. I like really soft bread. And even as high in fiber as this is, it has a very tender crumb. It's very dense, but very tender. So now I'm just gonna split my dough in half. This will make 2 loaves. And I've got ahead and pre-oiled, just with some butter, my bread dishes. And I'm just gonna put my dough in there in both of my baking dishes. And I'm gonna let it rise again. The full recipe and directions are also on our website. Once it's nice and risen, I'm gonna just take a knife and cut a couple slits in it before I pop it into the oven. The slits are optional. This is a very dense bread, so it's not gonna rise up a ton. But like I said, it has a very tender crumb. Here are our beautiful loaves. I did, prior to putting them in the oven, do that egg wash with the egg whites, and it just creates a really nice, shiny, golden brown exterior. So there you have it, our oat bran bread, our nice, delicious rustic oat bran bread. I hope that you will make this.